This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, so request you all to kindly mute yourself, and in a minute we'll be starting the session. Okay, let's begin. Hi everyone, this is Naik, as I was talking, and we are representing Smart Data Labs. So Smart Data Labs is a small startup which is more concentrated on the educational system and bridging the gap between the educational industry, and we do a minimum of services as well, technology services. So from Smart Data, we are trying to regularly conduct webinars, and for today's webinars we have Mr. Abhimanyu Singh. uh, Very great of him that he did accept our invite, and talking on COVID-19 and the cyber laws in India especially. We all know that there are many crimes, cyber crimes, that are happening, and many people lose money because of small mistakes, and we should be aware. And if you look at the pattern, you can definitely observe that the crimes have been increased past 2 months, 2.5 months since the COVID-19 has been observed. So there has been lots of loss in terms of financial for every individual. Everyone has a pain point, and I believe for those, many of these points will be very much valid. And Mr. Abhimanyu Singh will enlighten us with more details about the laws in India, and will also give a walkthrough of the COVID-19 and corresponding cyber trends, attack trends, which are happening so far, and would also share his thoughts and his experience in this current session. So, beyond that, a bit about Smart Data Labs. We normally get tied up to the universities and individuals, and we provide trainings and workshops on technologies like cybersecurity, IoT, blockchain, AI, and ML. So we have renowned experts, renowned mentors who are very much very close to the industry in nature, and they understand what is the current challenge. So the industry experts are part of our team, the mentors, and once we handle any of the workshop, most of the workshops that we provide are hands-on oriented and are very much inclined to the realistic challenges that you might face near future. And these days, you might definitely have heard that there are lots of opportunities that's being created for the cyber security guys, and so the crimes are happening. That's the other side. So we encourage people to uh, catch the current trend and make a career for yourself. Okay, so I would not delay this long, and I would like to also share one of the happiest news that from our side is Just 2 days back, we did receive a patent from the Indian government, the IPR office, where we filed a one first patent from our side, and that got published in the IPR this 5th of June 2020 with a group of students. So, so I just thought I would convey the same. And if anyone is interested to get a patent, interested to build their career, we are here to bring you that kind of a career where you can have this for next 20 years, which would be added value for your resume as well. So that's it. So I'll straight away go ahead and introduce Mr. Abhimanyu Singh. So Mr. Abhimanyu Singh has been an advocate for the Rajasthan High Court, Jaipur, and he is the founder for the Manu Legal, and he is the expert in cyber laws. And currently, I guess he's pursuing his doctorate, the PhD program. And sir, could you please take it over?
Thank you, Meg, for such a good introduction.
Thanks a lot, sir. Please.
Hello and good afternoon to every participant. My name is Abhimanyu Singh. I'm a practicing advocate in Rajasthan High Court, Jaipur, as Mr. Naik has already told you. So today I'll be dealing with the topic of COVID-19 and cyber laws in India. This is the topic which I'm going to discuss in this 1 hour session. And for now, I would like to give all of you a brief introduction about this topic. That this is it. Okay. So now from here. So as I've come to receive, as I've received many of the problems regarding the cyber laws and cyber attacks and cyber crimes in India, I have noticed that many of the persons who are complaining about the cyber crime or cyber issues, they are not aware about what is the cyber law or what exactly cyber crimes means or what crimes are covered under the concept of cyber crimes, what is cyberspace and other things. So let me just briefly introduce about all these things. So first, the first thing is what is a cyber law? So according to me, a cyber law is just a law of the internet, which is based on the internet. The law which is based on the internet, because if we talk about cyber thing, the cyber is basically the internet programs or the computer resources which is being run from the internet. So cyber law is a law regarding information technology and computer and internet. It is a combination of all these things of information technology, computer and internet. The law which is regarding these things. The second thing is that cyber law protects the internet from malicious people. Like for example, if someone is trying to make some fraudulent activity in your computer through internet, then there comes the concept of cyber law. It will protect you from that malicious people. Okay. And the next thing is that cyber law gives a legal recognition on electronic documents. Like, for example, cyber law gives recognition that the email which you are receiving or the any email which you have got as an evidence will be taken as a legal definition or legal document under the court of law. Cyber law recognizes this. But of course, before coming up with cyber law, there was no as such any statute or legal statute which can recognize these electronic documents in the court of law. So, cyber law helps people for recognizing and protecting the people from malicious people who are trying to do illegal activities on cyber world. Okay. Now here comes the concept of second thing, definition of cyber crimes. Most of people are confused about the definition of cyber crimes. Let me tell you all that there is
a lot of disturbance.
are you having a disturbance?
I'm sorry. I think there is one participant who was trying to unmute. I think this is proper, sir. Please continue.
Okay.
Yeah. So
So
request for other participants, kindly mute because this would be a very much valuable time where expert talks, and it would be very precious to listen from the expert rather than creating some disturbance from our end. So kindly mute yourself so that the whole session goes in a smoother way. Thank you, sir. Sorry, sir. Please.
thank you. So the let me tell you all that there is no such definition of cyber crimes in any of the statutes in India. Yes, the term cybercrime is nowhere defined. So we have made, or the legal dignitaries have made, or legal scholars have defined the term cybercrime as a crime which consists of computer-related information, or which consists of computer only. That's it. So a cybercrime is any type of crime in which a computer is used in a which is used, which is termed as a cybercrime. Now, in fact, it cannot be to offense of or a crime has been dealt with elaborately listing and punishments for each under the individual code. To put in simple terms, any offense or crime in which a computer is used is a cybercrime. That's it. So, to give a basic definition of cybercrime, we can say that any offense or crime in which a computer is used is a cybercrime. And now, interestingly, even there is if there is a petty offense also, like stealing or pickpocketing, there can be brought within the broader purview of cybercrime if the basic data or aid to such an offense is a computer or an information stored in a computer used or by the fraudster. The Information Technology Act defines a computer network also, and data information, other ingredients of the cybercrime, about which we will discuss later on. But in a cybercrime, computer or the data itself is a target or the object of offense or a tool in committing some other offense, providing the necessary inputs for that offense. So all such acts of crime will come under the broad concept of cybercrime. So I guess the definition of cybercrime has been clear to all the participants. So this is the basic definition, which says that any offense or crime in which a computer is used is a cybercrime. That's it. Now we talk about the basic concept of cyber laws. Like what cyber laws contain. The cyber laws contains the cyber crimes also, electronic and digital signatures, which we'll discuss later on. The crimes of against intellectual property, it is a civil crime or civil offense, and data protection, privacy. These all types of crimes are contained under the concept of cyber law. Cyber law is a broad concept, and under which cyber crime is defined. Okay. Now there is another concept which is called as cyberspace. Many people confuse it with cyber law, cyber crime. Like they say that cyberspace and cyber crime is a similar thing, or cyber law is or and cyberspace is similar thing. No, it is not like that. Cyberspace is something. We can define it as an environment in which a communication over computer network occurs. Okay, it is a total environment. It is a big environment in which all the communications over computer and internet or network which occurs, which includes computers also, networks, softwares, data storage devices such as hard disk, USB disks, etc. The internet, websites, emails. It covers everything. Cyberspace covers everything which is related to internet or computer. Okay. So coming to the next slide, now we should learn, or we should get the information regarding the importance of cyber laws in India. Why we need such cyber laws, or what is the need of implementing these laws in India? Because there is a greater need, because before 2000, there was no such law which can, which can deal with the cyber crimes on. So in 2000, there arises a great need for implementing a law which specifically deal with the offenses of cyber or computer related offenses. So there is a greater need because the first point is that all companies depend upon their computer network and keep their valuable data in electronic forms. Now, as it is a digitalized world, we are moving towards digitalized economy also, digitalized GDP and everything is digitalized nowadays. So all the corporate companies are totally dependent, may it be IT company, may it be banking sector or any other company which you talk about. All the companies, all the industries, they are totally dependent upon their computer network or the computer system, and they keep all their important files or their valuable data in the electronic form in the computer. Although they take hard copy, they also store a hard copy of that particular thing. But what if they want to take a backup plan? They it's for that thing. They store all the important information and valuable data in the electronic form in the computer itself. So for protecting that data, for protecting that data from being stale by any other person by hacking the computer or by physically damaging the computer, there is a greater need of cyber laws. The second point is that the government forms, including income tax returns and company law, etc., all are filed in electronic forms. So if you are filing your income tax return, IT return, or you are filing a company law form, etc., these all forms are filed electronically. There are no other sources to file these forms. So to keep check on these forms that they cannot be those personal information cannot be leaked to some other person. These cyber laws are needed very urgently. The third point is that the consumers are increasingly using credit cards for shopping. This is the main point which I'll be dealing in respect of COVID-19, because in today's era or today's time, the present time, most of the person are using their credit cards or their debit cards for shopping. So that process, by that process, they are uh, entering their personal information in the websites which store their personal data. So for protecting that personal data, cyber laws are very much needed. Because if you are, like for example, if you are paying something on Paytm, your personal card details are being saved. The Paytm asks every time that if you want to save the details of your credit card so that you can use it next time, then the Paytm automatically saves your personal details of your credit card. So there should be a law, so a law which can protect your personal data from circulating to other person. So these are the main importance of cyber laws in India. Now the next point is that most people are using email, cell phones and SMS messages. These types of email or cell phones and other things, they are the reason for the increasing of cyber crimes, because these email and cell phones can easily be hacked and easily be easily to make fraud or any other misrepresentation by the cyber criminals. Even in non-cyber crimes cases, important evidence, etc. This is not such important thing. Now, let us go to the next slide. Now, let us discuss the categories of cybercrime, because most of the persons are confused regarding the categories of cybercrime, that under which category our case will fall. Because cybercrime, making a complaint of cybercrime is different as compared to any other filing a case in either civil or criminal offense. So, if we talk about categories of cybercrime, the categories of cybercrime are divided into three parts, three heads. The first category is cyber crimes against person. So the cyber crimes against persons uh, contains cyber crimes like cyber stalking. I guess all are well aware about the cyber stalking. Like for example, if you are stalking someone's profile or you are checking someone's email from a site, or you are stalking that person WhatsApp, or sending messages through WhatsApp, Telegram, or email or Facebook, Instagram. You are following that particular person, that comes under the concept of cyber stalking. It is a crime or cyber crime also. Another crime is privacy. If you are violating the right to privacy of any person, then it comes under the concept of cyber crime against that particular person. You can also term harassment with the use of computer in this head, and impersonation and transmission of obscene material and cyber extortion, etc., etc. These all crimes comes under the head of cyber crimes against person, because under these crimes, the crime is committed to a particular person or particular people or an individual. So these crimes comes under the concept of crimes against person. Now comes to the second head, which is cyber crimes against property. If we talk about cyber crimes against property, it is I would like to give an example. Like in hacking, uh, you just don't hack the email or password. You just hack the device of the particular person. Like for example, if you want to hack a computer of a particular person, then you have to attend the access of the particular computer. So it is a crime against cybercrime against property also. And in second example, you can say that if you damage that particular computer, or you can if you vandalize that particular computer, then also it will come falls under the concept of cyber crimes against property. And if we talk about illegal transfer of funds from financial institutions, then also it will comes under the concept of cyber crimes against property, because financial institutions are not considered as a particular person. And if you are transferring funds from a financial institution, like from a bank or from a company, then it will comes under the concept of cyber crimes against property. The third and most important thing which I'm going to deal here is that if you are stealing secret information and data from a particular company, like for example, Mr. Naik has already said that they have filed a patent and they've got registered on 5th of June. If someone by illegal means steal that particular patent from Mr. Naik's company, then this case will comes under the concept of cyber crimes against property, because a property has been stolen. Property means the IP, the patent. Patent cannot be termed as a person. So the property has been stolen or secretly stolen by without the consent of Mr. Naik. So this type of offense comes under the concept of crimes against property. Now, coming to the next head, which is cyber crimes against the government. It is a general thing which include hacking against of the government websites and cyber terrorism and sending computer viruses to government organizations for any particular means. So it is just a general thing we will not discuss because it is not related to our concept. Okay. Now coming to the next slide, we are going to discuss here the types of cyber crimes, because there are many types under which cyber crimes are being committed. The first is identity theft. In this concept, what the hackers do or what the cyber criminals do, they just theft your identity. Like for example, they create a fake username or password of your account, or they create a fake profile of your account. They choose your ID or password for entering into bank account or any other information regarding your identity. They theft, they steal your identity and use it for entering into another something account. So this is the concept of identity theft. The second thing is cyber terrorism, where a group of terrorists or group of terrorist activities or terrorist organization, they create an impact on the government or general public, and they put into the minds of people a fear of terror. So that was a concept of cyber terrorism. The third thing is cyberbullying. This is a new concept which has been added in the Information Technology Act. Under the concept of cyberbullying, it is like that if you are the person who is below the age of 18 years, then if you are doing nuisance to, and you are bullying some other person, and the offender is below the age of 18 years, then it is called cyberbullying. If the offender is above the age of 18 years, then it is called as cyber harassment. Okay, it will not be called as bullying. The fourth is hacking, like getting unlawful access of the another person computer or mobile. This is called as hacking. I guess all are very well aware about this hacking and hacking crime. Another is defamation. Like for example, if you are saying any uh, untruly or any remark which is not true to on any person, then it comes under the concept of defamation. You are intentionally defaming that person on internet or through internet. It has been punished under section 66 of Indian Information Technology Act, which we will be dealing later on. The next is copyright, which I've already discussed. Copyright, patent, and the geographical indication. These types of crimes are very well into the market, because copyright is a thing which can be easily violated in cyber world. Because what cyber criminals are doing, they are just taking all the copyrighted material. It can be photograph also, it can be any other thing, without the permission of that owner, and they are using it for their own benefit. This is a crime also, which can be termed as a cyber crime. Next thing is trade secrets. Like for example, if through hacking you get access to the secrets of a particular trade. Like for example, if two companies are getting into an agreement, uh, then one company can silently hack that particular company's website, email ID, so that they can know that their trade secrets. So that this is the type of crime also, cyber crime also. Second, next is freedom of speech. Under Constitution, the Constitution provides you the right to freedom of speech, but under the cybercrime, this freedom of speech has been restricted to particular points. Like for example, you have a freedom to say anything, or you have freedom to criticize the government, but you do not have freedom to to post some malicious content or some pornographic content on your web page or any other thing, which is regarding the freedom of speech, which is regulated by the Information Technology Act. The next is harassment and stalking, which I guess everybody is well aware about this thing, harassment and stalking. Now let's come to the next slide. The advantages of cyber laws. I'll be dealing it very quickly, because these are not much that related to our present theme. The advantages of cyber laws are that first advantage is the secured e-commerce infrastructure for online businesses. If we are providing particular cyber laws to all the businesses or to all the firms, IT firms, and all the industries, then this cyber law will provide a secure electronic commerce infrastructure for all the online businesses. The second thing, which is advantages, is digitally sign your contracts and papers. Like for example, under the Information Technology Act, you can make your own digital signature, and by using the digital signature, you don't have to go to particularly to a particular place to just sign that particular agreement. You can send your digital signature to that particular place. That will be considered as your original signature. The third thing is that the cyber law has introduced new businesses for certifying authorities. Another advantage or benefit which here is that the cyber law is proficient use of e-forms as prescribed. Another is the cyber laws provide secure websites with digital signatures. There is meticulous monitoring on the web traffics, and electronic transactions safeguarded by the use of cyber laws. And emails are a legal form communication and are approved in the court of law. Yes, this is the last point which I am talking about. That before coming of this cyber law, the email, if you provide an email as an evidence in the court of law, it was of no value. But after coming of the Information Technology Act 2000, if you are submitting an copy of email, print of an email, then it will have a legal implications, and it will have a legal value in the eyes of court of law, and it has been approved in the court. So these are the advantages of cyber laws. Now now comes to the main theme of present webinar, present tech talk, is that the impact, or we can say cyber crimes during the COVID-19 crisis. As we all know, because of this COVID-19 crisis, and the entire world, or we can say the entire India, has been put into a lockdown. And so the main impact of this lockdown was on the business. So most of the private organization or the most of the IT industries started their employees to work from their home. And during this process for working from home, what IT companies or many of the companies have done, that they have provided the digital information to their employees, to all their employees who are working from home. They have provided many information in the electronic form, which can be easily accessible through many of the users or many of the cyber criminals. Like for example, let me give you an example. If there is an employee of Infosys company. Now the company shares some private information regarding any agreement to a particular employee, that you have to make such agreement for the we are going to indulge in that particular agreement with XYZ company. Now that particular employee has all the information stored in electronic form. Now, what if that particular information can be steal or can go to steal or can be theft can be done on that particular information very easily, because that employee's personal computer or personal laptop is not that much secure as compared to the computer system of that particular company. Like for example, the systems which are installed in Infosys are much more secure than the systems which we are working from our home. So this process gives rise to the cyber crimes during COVID-19 when we are working from home. This is my first point. Like in this COVID-19 crisis, what we have seen in the present time is the increase of cyber crimes, because most of the employees are working from their home and their laptop or their computer is easily accessible. Now I will give you the example or give you the reasons why their laptop is easily accessible in their home. I'll give you the example later on. First, let's discuss the second point. The second point is that there is an attack on personal sensitive information and financial information. The reason behind the attack on the personal sensitive information is because most of the person in this crisis time are they are getting bored and they are using internet, or they are doing anything on internet. They are watching movies, they are playing games, and they are doing any sort of thing to pass their times. So this has given opportunity to all the cyber criminals to attack on their personal information. Now in this point I would like to give you some example on the personal information. Like I guess most of you have installed an Arogya Setu app, which has been being mandated by the central government and by Modi ji. Now you have entered all your information in that particular app, the Arogya Setu app. Now there was a news that this Arogya Setu app was hacked by some cyber criminal. Now you have mentioned all your personal sensitive information, that your travel history, your age, and your name, your email ID, phone number, your exact location. You have entered all these things in your Arogya Setu app. Now, what if this personal information got accessed by any cyber criminal? What if this app has been hacked by any other criminal? So this was the main thing which is getting famous in this present time, because in the present time we have given all our information. Like for example, in Kerala there was a app, I'm forgetting that name of that app, which is similar to Arogya Setu app, and that app you also have to put your all the information. Now that app was based on a foreign entity, and that foreign entity was collecting each and every information of the people of Kerala. Now, the High Court of Kerala intervened in that case, and it ordered the Kerala government to scrutinize the information of particular person first, and after that scrutinization, they have to give the information to that particular app. This was the order which was given by the Honorable Kerala High Court. So, what I'm trying to say is that during this COVID-19 time, we are just giving our personal sensitive information and our financial information to any of the app. Like for example, if I have to give you example of financial information, there was a call from Prime Minister Modi ji that you have to pay through your Paytm or into the PM Care Fund. So after his declaration, some of the cyber criminals made a similar website or similar payment platform for the payment of that particular PM Care Fund. So they committed a fraud from that particular website because while paying for the PM Care Fund, many people have entered their personal financial information, like regarding their credit card details or regarding OTP and other things. So this was the types of cybercrime which occurred mainly during this COVID-19 time. The third thing which I'm talking about is social media websites. Now, all of us are getting very bored during this COVID-19 time, and we are using social media websites regularly. Okay, we are using Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, every website which we can access from our mobile or laptop. So while using these websites, we are clicking on unidentified ads or illicit messages which are being shown as in our side window as ad for the particular information. So while browsing social media websites, we are getting prone of the cyber criminals are getting very easy targets so that they can send you particular message to get your information or to hack your account and ask for money to in return of your email ID and password, etc. etc. This was also the type of cybercrime which is happened mainly in times of coronavirus. Now, another thing is that we are playing many online games which we do not check before installing in our phone because, like for example, there are many games available on the Google platform where you can easily download those games, and in that games there is a virus. They contain a virus or they contain a software like that your phone can be made easily accessible to those cyber criminals. So I just want to request all of you that if you are going to install any game, online game on your mobile phone, you just have to check the originality and the content of the particular game and what are the reviews regarding the particular game and other things while installing or while downloading the particular game in your mobile, because during this time, this particular type of cybercrime has occurred to many of the citizens of India. Next thing is that now, as we all are living in lockdown, we are unable to make our payments offline or by physical way. So we are doing all the payments of our bills, like maybe electricity bill or maybe our water bill, telephone bill, or regarding premiums or recharging of mobile and other things, or buy medicines and essential commodities. We are doing everything online, and we are giving our personal card details or personal details to each and every websites. Like for example, if you are talking about essential commodities online, many of the cyber criminals, what they have done is that they start selling masks at a very cheap rate, or they start selling gloves or the PPE kit at a very cheap rate. Now, what people get excited that yes, it is available on a very cheap rate, so I should enter all my details, all my card details, and after that, the money has been deducted from their credit card or the bank account, and nothing happened with no delivery has been made to them. So these types of cyber crimes has occurred during this cybercrime. So you have to be very sure and very protective while you are making an online payment for bills or premiums or recharges, etc. Now, the next type of cybercrime which happened during this COVID-19 is fake news and rumors. Uh, Many fake news has come into the this news because of uh, this concept. Like if you are circulating a fake news, this is also a type of cybercrime. Or if you are circulating a rumor, then it is also a cybercrime. So many people of India and India are unaware that they are doing a cybercrime by weighing that they are sending fake news or making rumors regarding that particular offense. Right. So this type of offenses has also been occurred in during this coronavirus crisis. The last thing which is happened is breach in personal data information. Now, most of the companies have done that after the lockdown, when they allowed their employees to enter into their companies, they have asked all the personal information before entering their employees in their company. So all the personal information regarding travel history or regarding their family history or regarding the travel history of the family are being given to the corporates or the companies. Then this personal information has been breached and this has been attacked by various cyber criminals. So these are the main cyber crimes which has occurred during this coronavirus crisis to IT companies, to personal or persons also, to the government also regarding fake news and everything. So these are the cyber crimes which have been committed during this coronavirus or COVID-19 crisis by the cyber criminals. Now let's just study what are the provisions which have been implemented, which are there present there in the Information Technology Act 2000, which prohibit us or which provide us some compensation or which punishes the criminals for committing the cyber crimes. So let's just first discuss the Section 43 of Information Technology Act 2000. Section 43 talks about the penalty and compensation for damage to computer and computer system. It is a civil remedy which is being given under the Information Technology Act. Under this, what happens is that if any person without the permission of the owner or the in charge of particular computer or computer system, if he access such computer or download or copy or extract any data or introduce virus in that particular computer or damage that computer or disrupt or change the password of the particular computer or the email ID or anything, or if it destroys or delete or alter any information or steal, conceal it, everything. This section contains everything. Like for example, if he is destroying or deleting any information or is altering any information or stealing that particular information or concealing it, like he is hiding that particular information in that particular computer only, then under these circumstances that person, that offender, shall be liable to pay damages only by way of compensation. As I've already told you that this is a civil remedy which has been provided in Information Technology Act. Now, under this, if a person access or hacks or download or copy any information without the permission of the particular owner or the in charge of that particular system, then he shall be made to pay compensation by way of them, pay damages by way of compensation. Okay. Now comes here the most important section, which says that section 43A, which says that corporate liability for data protection. Yes, the Information Technology Act 2000 has made a liability over the corporate or the IT industries or all the industries which are working to protect the personal data or of their employees. So, if a particular corporate company fails to protect the data, then compensation for failure to protect that data will be provided by that company only. For example, if you are entering your personal data or personal information on in Facebook page, and your data has been stolen from that Facebook page. So Facebook will give you a compensation. Like for example, if you have provided your personal information to any Infosys company. Now, if your personal data or any data has been stolen from Infosys company, then Infosys company will pay you compensation under this particular section, that is section 43A. Now, if we talk about adjudication of that particular case or what happens with that particular case, if we talk about civil remedy, then under this adjudication, central government has appointed a person which is not below the rank of director to the government to hold the inquiries for the particular offense, for the above offense, 43 and offense under 43 and 43A. For the particular above offense, that particular government officer will hold an inquiry for damages. But in this particular adjudication section, which is given under section 46 of the IT Act, it is only for the damages which are below the amount of 5 crore. If the damage amount is above 5 crore, then the competent court will take it into account. Okay, so if we are asking for a civil remedy under this cyber crime, then we have to adjudicate under section 46 if your case is below the amount of 5 crore. If your amount is above the 5 crore, the competent court will hold the inquiry. Now, this after this adjudication, if the particular adjudicating officer, if you are not satisfied with the judgment given by the particular adjudicating officer, you can easily appeal in the appellate tribunal, which is set up under section 48 of the IT Act, which is under the Telecom Dispute Settlement and Appellate Tribunal, established under section 14 of the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, 1997. This is the appellate authority which is established under the IT Act. If you are not satisfied with the judgment given by the appellate authority, then you can also appeal in the High Court within the 60 days of the judgment, the time given by the judgment given by the appellate tribunal. Now, if you don't want any civil remedy, you want to file a criminal case for that particular cyber crime. What you have to do is you have to approach the court under section 66 to 66, 65 to 66 F. These sections cover all the crimes which are covered under the concept of cyber crimes. And now we will discuss the section 65. Under section 65, it talks about tampering with the computer source document. Like if you are tampering anything with that particular computer source or computer source document, then a punishment of imprisonment of 3 years and a fine up to 2 lakh rupees is being given. You can approach the court and you can ask for the punishment of 3 years and 2 lakh rupees fine. The next section 66 talks about computer related offense. If you want to, under section 43, you were given an option of civil remedy. But if a person has accessed your data or concealed your data or hacked your computer and you want a criminal remedy, then you can approach the court under section 66 of the Information Technology Act, which provides punishment for up to 3 years and fine up to 5 lakh rupees to that particular offender. Now, section 66. I will discuss briefly the section 66 to 68A to F. Section 66A says that punishment for sending offensive messages through communication services, etc., etc. If you are sending offensive messages to any other person, then which is causing annoyance, inconvenience, danger, obstructions, insult, injury, criminal intimidation, enmity, hatred, etc., then you can be held liable for imprisonment up to 3 years and fine. Section 66B says that if you are doing any dishonestly receiving any stolen computer or stolen document from the particular device, then also you can be held liable for punishment up to 3 years and fine up to 1 lakh rupees. Section 66C talks about punishment for identity theft, which I have talked earlier, that if you are doing a crime of identity theft, and you are fraudulently and dishonestly making use of electronic signature or password of any other person, then you can be held liable and you can be punished for imprisonment of 3 years and 1 lakh rupees penalty. 66 Section 66D talks about punishment for cheating by personation. Personation means if you are fraudulently doing identity theft, it is similar to identity theft. You are impersonating another person. Like for example, if you are making a fake account on Facebook or Instagram, then you can be punished up to 3 years and fined up to 2 lakh rupees. The Section 66E says that punishment for violation of privacy. If you are violating the right of privacy of any person intentionally and knowingly, and you captures or publish or transmit the image of private area of any person without his or her consent, then you can be punished for 3 years imprisonment and 2 lakh rupees fine. Section 66F talks about cyber terrorism, which is punishable up to lakh imprisonment. Now, I will discuss the impact of Information Technology Act and IPC, and Information Technology Act and Indian Evidence Act. The IT Act and IPC has the IT Act was amended in the year 2008, and certain sections of IT Act has been inserted, and certain sections of Indian Penal Code and Indian Evidence Act were amended during that particular amendment, because under Indian Penal Code, if we talk about fraud and document fraud, then the electronic document fraud concept was added in the Indian Penal Code, and similarly in the Indian Evidence Act, electronic evidence were given preference and were allowed and were given a legal entitlement while presenting the evidence in the court of law. So these are the sections which basically talks about the punishment for cyber crimes. Now, before going further to the next slide, many people have doubt regarding the filing complaint in the cyber for the offense of cyber crime. Now, for filing the complaint of a cybercrime, there are two methods. One is online and one is offline. You can file an online complaint of cybercrime by you just have to reach to the National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal. If you want to file an cybercrime report online, then you have to reach to the National Cybercrime Reporting Portal. There are two divisions. One talks about women and child, crimes against women and child, and second talks about crimes by using mobile crimes, online and social media crime, online financial frauds, hacking, etc. So it depends on you that what kind of crimes you want to report in the particular website. You just have to reach the website of National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal, and you can easily file your complaint there, and your complaint will be taken into consideration immediately, and the concerned police station will be called and informed about the cyber crime which has happened to you. This is the online process. If you want to submit an offline report, or if you want to physically report your particular cyber crime, then you can register a complaint to cyber crime cell of your city. Like I'm residing in Jaipur. In Jaipur, there is a cybercrime cell made by the police station, or a particular police station has been made a cybercrime cell where all the cybercrimes complaint are being reported. If you don't want to, file a complaint regarding this cybercrime, you can directly file a FIR, first information report. You can directly file a FIR in any of the police station. Yes, in any of the police station, because cybercrime has global jurisdiction. It does not have any particular jurisdiction, because cybercrime is all around the world. So this cyber thing is all around the world. So it has a global jurisdiction. You just have to reach any of the police station which is near to you. You can choose any other police station, and you can easily file an FIR. The police person will not, deny you for filing the FIR regarding the cybercrime. The third thing, if the police station denies you for filing the FIR, you can directly complain it to the particular magistrate in your area. Then he will definitely hear to your problem. So this is the procedure by which you can easily file the crime complaint or FIR of your of the cyber crime which has happened to you. Now, after that, what happened after filing of the complaint in the online mode or the offline mode? A particular inquiry is being conducted because it is a cognizable offense, by which means that the police can arrest without the warrant. So during this process, the inquiry has been conducted by the police persons only, and if they find any evidence, you also have to give evidence to the police so that it can help the police. So while filing your FIR or your complaint, so police makes an inquiry. It is just like is similar to it is just similar to an offense which is committed under Indian Penal Code. So cybercrime, the process, the whole procedure is exactly similar as the procedure which is of crimes defined under the Indian Penal Code. Now, let's come to the issues which are not covered under the Information Technology Act is territorial jurisdiction. The issue of territorial jurisdiction is main thing because while filing a cyber crime report, many of the persons says that this case does not fall under our jurisdiction, so we will not take this jurisdiction. Or what if a crime has been committed by a person who is residing in Ethiopia or South Africa, any country of South Africa or Dubai? Now, what will be the jurisdiction? Who will take the case? This is the issue which is not being covered under the Information Technology Act. The second thing which is not covered under the Information Technology Act is the preservation of evidences. Like for example, if you are submitting any evidence in the court of law or to the police officer and it has been deleted by mistake in the court also or by the police officer, then there is no such provisions for the preservation of the particular evidence. So these are the issues which are not covered in the Information Technology Act, which are very minor, which can be easily amended by under the Information Technology Act. Now coming to the my last slide, which is regarding how to prevent from the cyber crimes. You just have to take these small and very easy measures for preventing yourself from cyber crimes. Like first, if you're using a smartphone, then you should be aware of unsolicited text messages. If you're getting any unsolicited text message, then you don't have to click over them and you don't have to reply them. The second is you can give a rating and feedback to the I talked about online games. You can give rating and feedback to those games if you find them any wrong in that particular game. The third is phishing emails. Like phishing emails, you get many emails regarding particular job or particular offer. Then you can also be aware of that particular mails. You should not reply to those mails. The next thing is malicious downloads. If you're using your smartphone or computer, that means you have to be aware, very aware, while downloading your file or your any app on your smartphone or on computer, because that app can contain the virus or which can be through this virus your smartphone or computer can be hacked or it can be made easily accessible by the cyber criminals. The next thing is personal information requests. Like if any website or any app request you for entering your personal information, then you should be very much aware while entering the personal information of any payment or your regarding any of your name or password or anything. You should be very well aware of it. The last thing is the unwanted calls. You don't have to answer any of the unwanted calls which you do not intend to be accepted by you. So in the end, I would like to request all the participants to just be aware regarding all these cyber crimes during this Corona crisis time, because we are using the internet and we are using our phone very much. So we have to be very much aware while using our internet system through a computer or through our smartphones. So that is all from myself. If you have any question or if you have any question, you can directly contact Smart Labs, Smart Data Labs, or you can directly mail it to me. Or if you have any question, you can ask me from that. That's all from me. Thank you so much. I would like to thank Smart Data Labs for providing me an opportunity to speak and to give my lecture. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Abhimanyu sir. That was really very much interesting that you have given detailed insights of the trends that's been happening in terms of cybercrime and the sections that you have spoken. That gives a confidence like what is that we can definitely think that we can go ahead and take as a proof and take it over. And the third one is like the recent trends on the cyber security or the cyber crimes that is happening because of the COVID nature. There is a lot of increase. So you just gave beautiful real-time examples that really clarifies lots of things. So participants here on the webinar, if you have any questions, maybe we can have 5 minutes of questions. Please open up. So we can have one person asking the question and then following other guy. So please continue. Okay. So maybe if there are no questions, I have a scenario, sir. So uh, the toll gate that these days, which has been automated by the tag. So one of my very known professor uh, was overbilled, and whatever recharges he does, that automatically gets debited. Now, how do you take this? And what do you think that I mean, he has to do to stop this?
I don't get your question actually. He has made the payment for the recharges,
So
but he.
yeah, so the toll gates and all, we have the recent fast tag.
Yeah, yeah.
The
The
fast
toll
tag,
gate. Okay. I got it. I got it.
the
Uh,
yeah, the
so
fast tag.
yeah, yeah.
This person's
So
fast tag account got automatically debited,
yeah,
and
yeah,
when
yeah.
he talks to the guys to check it, no one responds to him.
Mhm.
Now there is third party persons involved like Paytm or Airtel or someone who issues the fast tag, and there is a whole system that that has the data who has used the fast tag. Now, what is the thing that the person has to do?
So the person, the victim, he has a particular message, which he must have a particular message that this particular amount has been debited from your account. Okay, so
Correct.
he
Correct.
can take a screenshot of that message, and what he can do is he can just share the particular message to the he can email the particular message to the Paytm company because uh, or his account has been debited from that company. Nothing has been
Correct.
done from the toll side. You cannot directly claim for it from the toll person. Your account has been debited from Paytm. So you have to write a mail or you can give a legal notice to the particular company, maybe Paytm or UPI or any other app. You have to
Correct.
give a notice to a particular company that my account has been debited illegally, or I don't made that particular payment, or it has been debited many times, and for the refund, we have to request for the refund. And if the particular company does not refund your amount for the particular transaction, then you can easily file a complaint, or you can it is just a matter of 45 rupees or 50 rupees. That's it. But if you want to really file a complaint, you can directly reach online, which I already talked about. You can file a complaint on National Cyber Crime Reporting Portal. Under this
Okay.
thing, you can say that this Paytm is committing fraud by debiting amount many times from my account. So for that particular thing, the concept of fraud will come. Now under the fraud, we can sue Paytm under the civil remedy also and under criminal remedy also. It's just you have to decide that you want compensation or you want criminal remedy from that particular company. So this
Okay.
is the process, total process. Okay.
Sure. 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 Thanks a lot for giving a detailed input. So I would open up this for one more question from the participants if someone would like to understand any of the questions that Mr. Abhimanyu can take up, please. Okay, sir. I guess
Okay.
most of the participants are silent. I guess they don't have any questions now. And with this, I would like to thanks a lot for giving us your valuable time. And it was a great time that you have spent with us, giving more insights about the whole experience that you have been by adding some real-time examples. Very wonderful to have you, and it's really grateful for us also, sir. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. See you all. Bye.